You know, the main reason I'm talking to you today is there are some criminal cases against you. And we have been discussing that I wanted to talk to you to get your side of the story.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there are 3 criminal cases right now. What's going on with those?
Well, everything has been great for business with me. We've had a great line of customers. We try to give back to the community as much as they give to us. And a few years ago, there was a selected customer of ours that became very unhappy and what I would say infatuated with me, to a sense to where it got weird, to where she was following my kids, sending me pictures of their license plates, letting me know that my son wasn't at baseball. So that transpired to where there was a hate group made about me. And I dealt with it. Business was still great, still doing a lot of work with everybody. And then, as that was 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when this hate group was started about me from a certain individual. And more posting, and people that we've never worked for before giving us reviews and complaining about us and defaming our company basically on social media all over the place. And it got to the point where the past year or two, where we would start jobs, our customers would find this hate group and then all of a sudden decide that they didn't want us to do their work anymore, which put us in this tough spot because we had bought material, we had set time aside. One of the cases, I believe, is a customer with a furnace that had a furnace issue. We were at their house probably 9 to 10 times with only one service, only charged them once. They did have another company from York come down, charged them I think $350 and did nothing. Couldn't fix it or anything. I got there, it was an overtime call, which we still didn't even charge them overtime, and was able to fix the furnace and get them heat with a butter knife. Didn't even have to take any of my tools in. They got heat, they were ecstatic, everything was great, only charged them a normal rate. I believe it was maybe a week later, they called back again, didn't have heat again, went in, fixed it again with a butter knife, and told them, you know, might want to think about replacing this thing. It was a very old furnace. So they agreed that it's probably time, but we didn't do anything on paper, anything like that yet. So then it happened again, and it was getting closer to the time where it was like really cold outside. And I believe it's a mother, her daughter's husband, and the kids that live all in the same house. So we went back again, was able to fix it, even showed the daughter that lived there how to light it herself, so she didn't have to keep calling us until we could get it in. I did inform them that I couldn't get a furnace in for them anytime soon because theirs was still working, and we had customers with no water, no heat, etc. You know, emergencies. The mother did give us a deposit for a furnace. Again, we didn't sign a contract with them. We just let them know, hey, we can do this, but there was no time given. Like, we'll get it in, but we're not going to be able to do it next week or whenever because it's working. And even after that, we still went back, I think, another 4 or 5 times and got it working for them again, making sure it was hot. You know, we had the house up to 74 degrees at one point to make sure the whole family was warm, and everything was good. And then this hate group came along again, and there's another company that this other previous customer that started this whole charade against me really pushes other people to use this other company, plumbing company. So this customer must have got a hold of that company after being coached by this individual that hates me for unknown reasons, but she does. And I didn't know it at the time, but I'd contacted the daughter and said, hey, I believe it was March actually of this year. Contact her, hey, we got your furnace. I got time this week to do it. Sent her multiple texts. I have the text messages still. Nobody answered. And then I get a phone call from a detective, I believe it was, telling me not to ever contact them again. Not to ever reach out to them, he's going to talk to me later, which he never called me back. But I was instructed to never contact that customer, which blew my mind because everything was left. Okay, I didn't know any of that was transpiring until no return text to me from the daughter and that phone call. So that went to there, and the next thing you know, I get summon or papers, which I have no problem talking with the customer, seeing what we could come up with. Again, we were there many times. I only charged them once. So if there's a difference in pricing for what we had done for them to the deposit they gave us, I had no problem working it out with them because they were good people. But again, I was instructed by this detective to never, ever contact them again, ever.
And now, have you been to court on that case yet? Was there a preliminary hearing?
Yeah, there was preliminary. I don't even think they showed up to that hearing because it was very quick.
This is the one you're talking about is Carol Ginby.
Yeah, I think Cassandra's the daughter. I believe that's the name that we have on the file.
So this is the one that she wrote a check to you for $4,000 for a furnace.
Yes.
And then this was in Windsor Township, Red Lion area.
Yeah, Bonds Mill Road, I believe it was.
And so she had said that she was referred to you by a friend who was satisfied with the work you had done.
Yeah, we have a lot of those.
The detective here was told that Jacoby commented that he claimed to be at the property 12 times to another investigator. She said he was lying and he was only there twice. She showed the detective messages on her phone. And Cassandra also forwarded text messages to the detective's cell phone and provided the phone number. The messages went back and forth since November until last month about the furnace, and that was
I believe it was March.
Until March.
Yeah.
And then she ended up having someone else come and fix it. So I also saw the text messages.
Yes.
And do you have associates who work for you who set things up too?
I used to have a secretary, 2 of them. I have since, for the past month, taken over the phones. I used to do it all myself for the first 6 years, and then it was hard for me to do all the phone calls, all the paperwork, and the work. So I entrusted other people to do that for me. There were things that did fall through the cracks of this. I don't think this was one of them, but usually if we mess up, we usually correct it. You know, my whole thing is making people happy. That's, you know, I want people to use us for their plumbing needs. You know, I feel like I'm one of the best around. We did win Best of York County. So, you know, if there is issues, I try to correct them fairly quickly. And like I said, with Miss Cassandra
Carol,
yeah,
her daughter.
with them, our first couple visits there, they were very happy, ecstatic, especially since I came behind another company, a big name company out of York, and the guy was there and couldn't fix anything and tried to just sell him a new furnace right off the bat. I went in there and fixed it and got it running in 10 minutes.
So you're saying that, which is not in this police report, that you were there prior to, had fixed the furnace that time with a butter knife.
Yes.
And said you're going to need a new furnace at some point.
I said that probably a good idea to get a new furnace. I think it was after the 3rd time there. Granted, their hookup was different than most. Older house, they had a furnace that actually was suspended from the basement floor. So it wasn't your standard furnace that sits on the ground with ductwork. So again, it was a job that was going to take time, and it was working. It was an old furnace, but it was working. And when it was working great. You know, heating up great. They were never, these customers were never, how do I want to put it, unhappy or distraught until they were coached by this other individual that started this.
The text messages I saw,
yes.
And I'll see if I can pull them up on my phone right now. It was a lot of back and forth of, he's coming out today, he can't come today, he'll be there tomorrow. And this went on for weeks. And the last text message she showed me was I'm sick and tired of this. If you don't show up, I'm going to contact the authorities.
Yeah, what number did she send that to?
Let me pull it up for you. But to be clear, you have no recollection of that?
No. And like I said, my last messages to Cassandra, I'm pretty sure I sent her a text saying, "Hey, is Mom home?" Because I try to be personal with customers, you know what I mean, make everybody feel comfortable. She didn't respond, and I think I sent her 3 messages to no response.
Okay, so this is the number is Jacoby Heating. So I think that may have been what she put in her phone. Let's see.
Now there is another company, Jacoby Heating and Air, but that wouldn't make sense if our guys responded to it.
Well, the check was to you. I mean, this is the check.
Yeah.
So this is one of the text messages, but it doesn't have the phone number. That I believe that's when it had first started, around November 18th. That was when you came to look at the furnace for the first time the next day, and she wrote the check to you after that.
She's saying she wrote the check after the first visit?
Well, this would be because the check was written on the 19th, so this is the 18th, so that was the first time that you guys had kind of gone back and forth.
I'll have to check our records on that. I'm pretty sure we were there once or twice prior to her deciding she wanted to pull the trigger to get a new furnace.
So you're saying these text messages were not to you?
They didn't come to me. No, if they went to the business phone, it wasn't forwarded to me, or I didn't see them.
She was saying something that, does your dad work for you? There was a person I think she was calling Rick.
Rick, yeah, he used to do the phones.
Okay.
Great guy, I love Rick to death. But the phones do ring a lot, and he tries.
This was all text messages.
And he tries to respond accordingly. He can't answer everything for me because I'm always out in the field working. That's what I do. I love to work. But I do know that Rick had sent me out there multiple times, and Rick has even gone with me 1 or 2 of those times to the customer's house to get the furnace running. Like I said, it was never a once or twice thing, and then she gave us a check, and then we didn't go back. Even after she gave us the check, the deposit for the furnace, we still went back multiple times to get it running until we could get it replaced.
So you're saying there was no back and forth between her and you guys about you showing up and getting the furnace after the check?
I do believe there was 1 or 2 times that we tried to getting her scheduled in because it was really cold, but it was working. And then it's I've been putting in a position to where if we have her furnace working and we schedule her in, I do know that the mom was usually always home. She is retired, so having her at the house or having her miss time from work wasn't a problem because I hate having people take off work or stuff like that, and we can't make it when we say we're trying to get there. So I do know there was 1 or 2 times that she was scheduled in to get work, and then Rick had called her or texted her, or even I did. Let her know, hey, I got to be here and here right now. This customer doesn't have water. It's because we try to categorize things to, emergency, to where, if somebody calls us and has no water and they have kids, no matter what the time is. The same thing with heat. If they have no heat, like I said, I've been to Cassandra's house.
She said she had no heat.
That's not true.
And that she had to go out and buy electric heaters.
Maybe at one point before we got there.
She said it was for 3 months.
That's not true. That's completely false.
So why did you cash the check?
Because we put a deposit on the furnace. Because like I said, it was a special order furnace. Was not your standard. You can go to a plumbing supply house and buy your standard furnace. This was a wall hung or a floor hung furnace, almost like a modine heater, but not. It was to heat the whole house. Very old style. One that usually you have to order it. Nobody keeps those in stock. So I put the order in so that when the time came, we could do it. And
did you ever get that furnace?
We did, yeah, I had to return it, yeah.
So you cashed the full check because you had to put down the deposit.
Right.
Do you remember how much that deposit was for?
The deposit she gave us?
The deposit that you had to put down for the furnace.
I believe the furnace was $2,100, but that was for the furnace, and then I also had to redo the gas lines. It was a liquid propane furnace, LP. You know, they don't make the style that she has anymore, so there was adjusting to be done. I'm not, like, I know the company that went in and then did it after me, and I know their proposal was much higher than.
She said she paid the same exact price. She paid $4,000.
Is that what she paid?
That's what she said she paid.
Well, again, I don't know because I can't contact her. All I know is what we did, what we were trying to do. Many times I've been out there to her house to help her out. And
can you understand how that would look to somebody, though, that they gave you $4,000, you say you're going to buy the furnace, and then between, this was November to March when you were told not to contact her, that a furnace is pretty important in the winter.
Sure.
You know, and I know you said you had other priorities, but can you understand from her standpoint of she gave you the money, she was expecting a service?
Right. And upon talking and her even writing us the deposit for the job, we did tell her that this is not something that we can do soon, as you know, next week, next month.
Then why were some of the messages saying that, oh, we'll be there tomorrow, we'll be there tomorrow?
Because she was getting to the point where she was tired of us fixing it and getting it running.
This was after the fact. This was after she had given you the $4,000, which
Right.
I'm assuming at that point, she gives you the $4,000, you're in communication with her. From your point of view, you're saying, all right, I'll put the deposit down, we'll get you the furnace, and we'll install that.
Right.
And then she's following up with you saying, when are you
Yes.
going to come put the furnace in? And you're saying, we'll be there tomorrow, we'll be there tomorrow. So can you understand how that...
Yeah, I can see it being frustrating for the customer. And like I said, I try to put everybody first. All of our customers, every one of them is very important to me. For her, it was not so much as us trying to put her off as long as we could. I knew that she had heat. I was trying to move other jobs around.
But how could you be sure she had heat if you weren't there? Because it could break again, right?
Right, it could. But Cassandra or the mother always let us know when there was no heat, and I was either out there that day or that evening. Every single time. There was not once that she told us that she was without heat for weeks. Not one time.
So why not have a contract, right? So you know at this point, okay, maybe this is not the priority because you're saying she still had
Right.
heat. So why not write out a contract saying, I can't promise you this until April, or why
Yes.
not do that?
When I first started business, things were a lot different. When I first started business, everybody was just the world has changed a little bit when it comes to demeanor from certain people. And we usually do contracts, especially anything over $500. Everything happened with Cassandra, what's her name again? Carol, I'm sorry. That I basically gave her a price. And she's like, look, I'm gonna give you a check. Let's try to get this moving. I didn't even have our tablet at that point in time. I believe it was in the evening when we were there. After I got it running again, I was like, I can order it. We can get it in.
You're saying your tablet where you do your ordering?
Where we do our contracts and everything like that. We can get it in, but can't promise you any certain date. I can promise you I'm not gonna leave you without heat, because every time I fixed it, it was a very easy fix that I actually showed Cassandra how to do, and she even did it once or twice herself, and then there was times where she just couldn't get it that I went and got it running. You know, we had to move a piece of furniture in their kitchen, which is where their thermostat was. So it was easier for her to keep things running, and I told her, you gotta leave the thermostat set here. Everything in the house was old, but it was still working. And when she gave us the deposit, like I said, it was, me and her had a history now to where she knew that I wasn't going to let her go. You know what I mean? I would be there if she called me. She didn't have heat. I would be there. I wasn't going to let her without heat. I would never let anybody without water or heat if I can fix it.
And so you disagree with the fact that she says you were there only twice?
I very much so disagree with that, yes.
So that was one of the first cases, and then the other two cases, you know, a little different, but
yeah,
it seems like the trend here, from, again, just reading the documentation, is the fact that a check is given, it's cashed by you, and then these people contact you back and forth for a couple of months, and things aren't fixed.
Right. Well, which one do you have here?
So then there's the Havlicek. This is Gwen. And
I believe
then
that's the
other
customer.
one is Alex Britcher.
Yeah, Gwen. I believe this was $300.
Yes.
If I'm correct.
A pellet stove.
Pellet stove. So we've been to Miss Gwen's. Did you say it was Gwen?
Gwen.
Gwen. Yeah. Home numerous times. Great woman. Had health issues herself, which, you know, we did what we could for her for the price that she could afford. I understand budgets with people. You know, we do a lot of breaks and a lot of donating in a sense when we can. We've done everything from replace her water heater, her faucets, fixed leaks in her house for basically cost prices. And then she wanted us to put a pellet stove in. So we showed up, unhooked her old pellet stove, uncrated the new pellet stove, put everything together, set the new pellet stove in place, and her smoke pipe wouldn't work. And I'm like, you need to get this or we can get this, but right now we're at $300. And this was for, and I was like, I can take this and try to get the smoke pipe. But that $300 also covered our dispatch fee, the hour and a half that we were there. It was two of us there, you know, unhooking the old one, getting it out of the house, uncrating the new one, building it, putting it in place. So I believe she was a little
It says here that you were originally quoted, you needed $800 for the part from Home Depot. She said she found it for $302. You accepted that, and then she wrote you a check for $300.
For $300. And that covered what we did. And I was going to take that. We actually went to Home Depot, and they had that, none of that was in stock. We let her know, then come to find out that she had found it. And somewhere between her finding it, I didn't even know she had purchased it, she had found it, and the next thing you know, we get this.
So she's saying here that numerous emails and phone calls. She said Rick responded to some of her emails and told her that he would inform you. She never heard back from you, and that you would cash the check. So why did you cash the check in this instance?
Again, the check was part of our hourly rate and our service call that we did. You know, customers can't expect us to come spend two techs at a house for an hour and a half doing the job, and the customer says that they have everything that's needed for the job. You know, we try to always go by good faith, but if a customer usually gets everything they needed, they usually don't get everything that's needed. This was one of them. We were there.
So you're saying the $300 was for what you had done prior to installing the wood stove?
But I also I did tell her that, you know, we will go to Home Depot and see if we can get it. You know, I looked it up online. It was.
So would you have charged her again if you did find that part that you needed?
I believe I quoted her $800 to do the whole job.
I'm just reading what this has here. Would need $800 from her to purchase the necessary ductwork.
No, I think that was the price given for the whole job, to rip out the furnace or the pellet stove, you know, get it, and things aren't easier or light to move around, get it out of the house, get it to the trash for her, unbox the new one, build it, set it in place, get the electric and everything hooked up except for the smoke pipe that she didn't have. So basically what she paid us to do what we had done. We didn't, you know, I didn't charge her $800, which was the quoted price to do the whole job, because we couldn't do the whole job. She gave us a check for $300 for an hour and a half's worth of work for two guys. So I do believe that is a misunderstanding that we're working out on that.
And then the other one is Alex Britcher.
Britcher, yes. Alex, great guy.
And this one, again, the trend that is appearing here on the documents is that there's calls back and forth. And this one seems like it went from May of 2022 to January of 23, approximately 50 phone calls.
Yes, I talked to Alex a bunch of times. I did give him a check back for...
Yes, for $1,200.
$1,200.
Yes. Oh, wait, let me...
It might have been $1,300.
$1,350.
Is that what it was? $1,350.
I mean, that's what it,
yeah.
It says.
Yeah, I knew
Alex
it was
received a Cash App deposit from Jacoby in the amount of $150, and then a check was mailed to him for $1,350.
Which made it $1,500
back in January.
In January, yes.
So there would be $2,500 that still remains for the work that wasn't finished.
Well, Alex's job, and like I said, we've done work for Alex before, a great guy. I had a carpenter on our payroll that I was very comfortable with. He was great. And in the midst of Alex's job starting, and we were to do 2 bathrooms, he had already framed up one or started it. We were going to move some water lines, set the normal bathroom stuff, and he gave us the deposit. I do believe we did gas line work there too.
It said here that according to him, the only thing was done was 5 pieces of drywall.
The gas line could have been a job.
A previous job?
At his residence, a previous job. I can't recall all the way on that one. But again, the carpenter I had found himself another job, so kind of left me high and dry. I let Alex know that, hey, I'm trying to get somebody else in there because when I took this job on, I had somebody there that I trusted to do the work, because if they would do the work at my house, I could trust them to do the work at somebody else's house because it's got to be done right. And he left me, and I let Alex know, like, I'm trying to get somebody else in here, a subcontractor that, at the time, everybody that I had contacted to do work wanted more money than what I had quoted the job for to do it, and just to do the carpentry work part. So I let him know that, like, this is a little issue for me. I'm trying to get this figured out. It was a basement bathroom. Again, every project's important. But he had a 2nd floor bathroom, so I kept working with him, trying to let him know that I'm doing my best to get somebody in here for the price to do the work. And he was great for a while. And again, I understood his frustration and trying to give him money back. Again, I bought a lot of material for the job that I could use, and carpentry-wise, he did have a lot of the drywall there. But then I had to sit on that, so it put me in a tough spot to where, you can't.
Was that communicated with him?
I believe it was, yes. I'd talked to him a few times personally.
Over the phone, text message?
Over the phone, yeah. Yep. And like I said, Alex is a great guy. Me and him have had a really good relationship. I was just put in a very difficult position, losing a guy that I trusted and trying to find a subcontractor to come in and do work that I know is not my profession. But at the time when I took the job on, was my profession in a sense. So,
do you think there's responsibility as a business owner that if you lose that person, that money should go back to the person who paid for it?
Yeah, for Alex's sake. And like I said, he was very understanding. Like, hey, let's just try to get something going here. The guy was able to get a couple pieces of drywall up. I believe there was some electrical pulled too. Minor stuff, but it got to the point, and that's why I started gave him some money back for.
So why haven't you paid him back the rest of it?
What is he requesting? I don't.
$2,500.
20, and I gave him.
You gave him $1,500.
$1,500, so $1,000. Again, that's one of the things. That one might be on me, but like I said, Alex is a great guy. I have no problem giving him his money back for that.
So. You've been in business 13 years.
Yeah.
You say this is not representative of who you are.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, we have a great reputation. But again, and I don't want to deflect from this, none of this stuff ever happened before a certain individual came into my life.
But these things, these all happened, correct?
These happened, but as you can see, as you said, they're common in certain forms.
Of the time in between, and a lot of going back and forth of you're going to show up, and then it was you never showed up.
And then the thing is, a lot of the stuff in here is way out of context, for one, and two, every one of them was talked, coached, pushed by this other individual, where usually I can, like the one with the furnace, I mean, I had the furnace, I tried contacting Cassandra at the time, saying, hey, is mom home? I think, like I said, it was March, all the cold weather was like not freezing at the point to where we were at a point where we were working 15, 17-hour days during that really cold snap, pipes bursting everywhere. We got through all of that, and I didn't get a response from Cassandra, which I didn't think was odd. Maybe she was working, but then I got a phone call from
Don't you think
director.
It's understandable, though, that at that point it's that cold? You know, I understand you were saying she still had heat, but she's saying she doesn't. You know, she's the one who lives there, and at that point, she hasn't heard back from you. Into winter, she says she's freezing.
Right.
Why wouldn't she go elsewhere?
And again, I do believe in coincidences to a certain extent. The fact of the company that she had come out to do it puts it all in black and white of why she went this route, because she was coached to do so. She had heat.
So do you think these people are lying?
No, she wanted her furnace. We had a furnace. There was never a time set for us to put it in. It was just knowing that we were going to do it for her. Never left her without heat, ever. If she went without heat, the house wasn't very well insulated. She would have lost all of her plumbing, water line, you know what I mean? Like, none of that happened. So there are some things fabricated on that one. This one, Gwen, great lady again, but $300 for an hour and a half of labor with two guys, you know, and a quoted price of $800. Like I said, that's not exactly correct. Alex, awesome guy. I do need to get him his money back for that, for sure. Even though, you know, we did do a couple trips there, and I still have to pay guys to go there, even, you know, if they did the drywall, pulled wires, that stuff. You know.
Did you have contracts with any of these people? I know you didn't for Carol. Did you have one for Gwen and Alex?
I'll have to look. I'm not sure. I think me and Alex did work something on the tablet. Miss Gwen was one of those things, you know, I gave her a ballpark price. I think it was like the $800. It was one of the, but we don't do a lot of pellet stoves. So, and she just asked us if we would do it. And I'm like, yeah, we could do it for X amount of dollars. And she said that she had everything and she didn't. So
what are your plans with these courses? I believe you have, your next hearing is set for September.
Yes.
I think they're all, as far as I could see on the court website, that they're all on the same day. So you're going to be talking. So is there?
I'm going to be in contact with.
Do you plan on fighting it?
I plan on handling it before it even happens.
Is that, and you have a lawyer with this?
Yes.
And that's what you've discussed?
Yeah, me and him have been talking. He is, my lawyer's a fantastic guy too. And like I said, I don't hate anybody. I love everybody and I want to make everybody happy. I'm not perfect by any means. I have been in business for a long time. I've dealt with a lot of different types of customers. These are unfortunate situations, but I don't want people to think that I'm out there, you know, taking people's money and not doing anything, because that's just not true. You know, I haven't been in business for this long by stealing, you know, and according to a certain individual that started this whole charades against me and has people. And you're
claiming that's Shannon Donovan.
Shannon Donovan, yes, she's a very special person. Gets her hands into this, and the hate group that she has against me, I have screenshots of customers, of people that claim to have used me, never used me. Kathy Wilhelm, I think, is one of them in Glen Rock, that goes beyond reasonable thinking, I would put it, and to defame me and slander me and hate me. And then on a recent post made about me, somebody asked her what I did for her, this is the Kathy on this hate group, and Kathy openly admits, I've never worked for her. She just is following what Shannon says.
And you have a defamation case against Shannon.
Yeah, we're suing her. Shannon has claimed.
And she's also suing you.
Yeah, she's trying to sue my. We had a case, a settlement case with Shannon, and my lawyer through the insurance. There was one simple thing. Everything could have been solved if she would stop posting about me, and she refused to. She didn't even want the money. She just wants to keep posting about me, and that's where it was clear, even to the judge, that there's more to this than what she claims. There's like more to it.
So back to these, because I know civil that can get that can go on for a long time.
Sure.
Criminal cases go a little faster.
Yep.
I mean, you are charged with theft by deception in all of these cases.
Right.
So what is your plan? Is there a guilty plea? Is there a plea deal that's going to be worked out to try to lessen, the penalties that you're going to be faced? What is your plan?
Well, my plan is to work it out with the customers. Like I said, Gwen, sweetheart, she's a sweet, she's a good one. I think that's she was led down a path from Shannon. She openly admitted that.
With these cases, though, for the most part, and when it gets to the criminal,
right,
you can't just give the money back at that point.
Right.
There's they have 3 cases that they can look at, and the court system can see a pattern.
Right.
So, whether you pay them back or not at this point, it's unclear if the charges would be dropped at that time.
Right.
So, if someone's looking for a plumber and they see that there's 3 criminal charges against you right now.
Yeah, and with me being in business for as long as I've been, and people can usually see the common denominator. I've never had this problem before, a certain situation. Great reviews up until a certain situation. We have our clients, our customer base is still great. A lot of repeat customers, new customers still coming in all the time. And it's the same thing. Bad news will always travel faster than good news. Everybody always expects a good job, and they get it, but you never hear about it, rarely. As soon as anybody messes up, whether it's me or any other plumber, that's the news that travels faster. And I'm just hoping people know that they know me and what I've done for years and years to come. I'll continue to do. I'm not letting one person ruin me or my name. I'm going to fight it till the end and keep proving to everybody that I'm a plumber. I'm a good plumber. I'm fair. I'm not cheating anybody out of anything. Nobody's perfect. I mess up. I have other guys that have worked over me before. Things happen, but I will handle everything and make sure everybody's taken care of at the end of the day. For sure.
If you had to go to court tomorrow, would you say you are guilty in any of these cases?
No. I would say that there needs to be a hearing, to where both sides can be talked, and that's what's going to happen. Because I have my proof as well.
It was also brought up at some point that people were alleging that you didn't have insurance and you didn't have a license with the state to practice plumbing. Are either of those true?
No. It's been brought up that I've stolen guns, broken into houses. I have never been convicted of anything. Small town, a lot of talk. If I didn't have insurance, why would Shannon be suing me for insurance money?
And then I guess finally to wrap this up,
yeah.
Well, also before I get to that, you said you had documentation that you got from your lawyer yesterday, and that you also had some documentation to prove that you were at these places when they say you weren't.
Yeah, the documentation I got is for the civil case. For this is all with my lawyer, Alex. I met Mike, so it wouldn't have done you any good.
But you say you do have documentation.
I do have yes, we have proof that we've been to Cassandra's way more than twice. I'm saying 9 or 10 times, and after hour calls. For when I do believe that was all verbal, and maybe a few text messages back and forth about, I'm not even sure if it was for this job or not. I'm Alex, great guy. I'm not going to say anything bad about Alex. I don't say anything bad about any of them. They're all great people. It's just unfortunate situations. In between these, we've done hundreds of jobs and everything goes flawlessly. It's just one of those things that, you know, they got talked to by somebody that wants to ruin me.
And could you provide us with any of that documentation? Like you said, you had.
Yeah, I can text it all to you, so you can have it all to put in your phone.
Yeah. And then, final question. Obviously, this has been going on for a while now. You said that it's been impacting you.
Oh yeah.
What have you learned, and what would you not do again?
One thing that Shannon has taught me, and I hold it to this day, the very first day that she called us to come over and look at her job, her first 20 minutes of conversation with me was talking bad about her previous contractors, how she was unhappy with this. She's suing this guy. She's taking this guy to court. So what I've learned is to, if I show up to somebody's house and they start talking against another contractor, because again, I know a lot of contractors, nobody's perfect, but sometimes you gotta fire the customer. And I should have done that right off the bat, and none of this would even be a thing. Another thing I've learned is, in today's world, misery loves company. They do. And Shannon has basically made it her goal to ruin me and my family. You know, everything from my kids, my parents, my grandparents, people that work for me. Her whole goal in life, I feel, is to ruin me, and I'm just not going to let that happen. But I'm also Adam Jacoby, so I'm not going to just lay down and stop either. I'm going to keep working.